Welcome back to Pleasure Principles, the show where we talk about intimacy like grown ups with honesty, consent, curiosity, and literally zero cringe. Today, we are actually going into something that affects everything at a certain point in their lives. It's about your connection, your confidence, your communication, your stress levels, and even how you show up at the work the next day. Yep, we are talking about sexual satisfaction and relationship health. And we are doing it with someone who is basically a walking data meets real life power combo. My guest is Dr. Meredith Thompson. She's a social scientist who prefers the real world, a negotiation guru, a data nerd, and entrepreneurial athlete. And she has also founded PartnerLab after living through an unhealthy relationship and sort of deciding, nah, we are not just going to repeat patterns anymore, we are redesigning them. So before we dive in, quick truth bomb for everyone. If anything we talk about today sounds like getting someone in the mood fast, we're only talking about it through the lens of mutual desire, emotional safety, and enthusiastic consent, right? So no hacks, no manipulation. We are building connection, not trying to win access. So, Dr. Meredith, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here with me.
Thank you so much, Sayan. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And since I think a lot of people listening aren't trying to be better lovers or have a sort of a hotter relationship, they're just trying to feel less confused, less like intimacy is another thing they're failing at. So
Mm.
I want to start with this thing that where a partner your partner says that it's both, so I'm going to use the word couples, where they say they're fine but intimacy feels a bit stressful and underneath.
Mhm.
So what does your research brain notice first? Is sexual satisfaction a nice to have,
Mhm.
or is it actually a core relationship infrastructure?
It is core to happiness and health and relationships. There was a meta analysis of thousands of couples a few years ago that showed our partners, specifically, sorry, let me take that back. Our own sexual satisfaction in a relationship is one of the top five fundamental drivers of overall happiness in a relationship. So it's not just a nice to have. I tend to think of it as the glue in a relationship. You know,
Mhm.
when the rest of life is tough and maybe you're going through stress or transitions or you have little kids at home or you have aging parents, like if the sex is good and you or feel like it's a safe space, like it just makes the rest of the relationship smoother and you're more gracious with your partner. So it's absolutely fundamental. And so when couples lose it, that is why they in large part feel that disconnect.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and this is usually where things get awkward in real life. I mean, because once people realize, that intimacy isn't just nice to have, the next thought is almost never graceful, right? It's more usually like,
Mhm.
sort of like, why isn't my partner just ready?
Mhm.
So I want to actually straight at that spicy headline,
Mhm.
where people want their partner to be in the mood, within seconds.
Mm.
What's the biggest misconception behind that desire? What actually
Oh.
helps desire happen faster in a healthy, sustainable way?
I love that you asked this question. It's one of my favorites. And I will say I know what the research is on this, but I also know it from a lived experience. So I was married for 22 years, divorced about 10 years ago, and um, been with my current partner about 9 years. And at least for women, and you can probably speak more to the male side of things, but for women, it's not something I guess we like to talk about because it's not sexy, but I kid you not,
Yeah,
it does lead to sex. It's that
yeah.
safety. Like, I know my current partner, my deepest, darkest secrets are safe with him. He has never raised his voice at me. He has never been belittling. Like, it is a transformationally and, much healthier relationship than the marriage I had been in previously, or I did for much of it, I
Mhm.
didn't feel safe. Like, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, any of that. And so now I'll just be really candid. We've been together 9 years. There's probably been 3 times in that 9 years where he's like, "Come on, you wanna?" And I'm just and it's not because I'm not actually interested. It was like, "I am so dog tired. I don't think I can." Every other time,
Yeah.
like, it takes 2 seconds of touching from my partner, and it's like, "You're a safe space. I really like you, and you've got these, like, great blue eyes and this." I call him a silver fox. He has white silver hair, and I'm like, "Yeah, let's do this." And so, like, that the safety, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, all of it, at least for women, it's huge, and if it's there, you're like, you don't have to work that hard to get your partner in the mood.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when the safety is not there, sex becomes absolutely a chore and it becomes stressful. And it's not supposed to be that way. We start one way I think about it is are we seeking pleasure or are we seeking relief? And I think
Mm.
in a lot of less happy relationships, people are seeking relief. They want relief
Mm.
from the stress and strain and the lack of safety. They want relief from the anxiety and they tell themselves they're seeking pleasure because that sounds better, right? Like we'd rather be
Yeah.
seeking pleasure in our relationship. We don't want relief in it or from our relationship. But if we can get clarity about, is it actually pleasure that we're seeking or is it relief? That question I think is fundamental to figuring out next steps to be in a happier, healthier relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And so is it safe to generalize this for both men and women?
Mm.
Or
Yeah,
is it just
that's a
yeah,
great
or is
question.
it
Go ahead.
because because when you talk about consent, I think women wants to be approached a different way, and men I feel like they want to approach in a different way, and sometimes I don't think they do want to, right? I mean, some people think consent kills the vibe, uh, and I think most men would say the same, and I think but I think it sort of upgrades the vibe. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like, how do you teach couples to communicate wants and boundaries without it feeling too corporate?
Mm, that's a good question. Your initial question there was about potential
Yeah.
differences with gender, and I think
Yeah,
just
like
from a
to put
human,
things right.
sure, I think from a human perspective, generally we do want some sense of safety. Like, I think there are plenty of men who feel criticized or belittled in their romantic relationship. That probably undermines their desire to get um, intimate with their spouse and. Um, Yep. There is that line between consent and I don't know, I guess
Yeah.
it's a continuum, right? Like you can
Mhm.
make my partner calls it putting the moves on. Putting the moves on me or whatever. But
Yeah.
that's very different from like we're going to do this, you don't have a choice. And the very
Yeah.
coercive side that I think some people think is like if you have a kind of an arrangement or an understanding with your partner that coercive words aren't really meant to coerce, that's very
Mhm.
different because then it's kind of, it's role playing or something in that vein. But
Yeah.
if you don't have that understanding and it really is about power, and I think that's the other thing really that's going on in a lot of these, they say everything out in the world is about sex and
Yeah, and I
but
think
sex is about power,
right.
and so I think that's very much what's going on here. A power dynamic in a sexual relationship can be really exciting,
Right. Right.
but if you're talking about coercion, that's different.
Right. I mean, it's really about what people are finding sexy, right? I mean, so it's kind of that power difference, the kind of dominance that is getting normalized these days, I would say.
Mm,
Um, so and I'm honestly the way you broke it down, right? I'm obsessed with it because when consent, I think is actually woven in. Sorry,
mhm,
not just technically, but sort of emotionally. That's
mhm,
that's a real change. I think the vibe gets more playful.
mm,
Less tenser.
mhm,
So
mhm,
I want to I want to talk about what supports that shift. For in as in, what are some practical ways couple can create that sense of safety and consent before intimacy? Especially when one or both are coming in already stressed or have some sort of guard around them.
Sure. Well, I think, the issues of power and especially honesty really are a critical part of this. And frankly, I think a lot of times it can be beneficial to talk about what interests you and what maybe your fantasies are outside of an actual,
Yeah.
um, like, an initial sexual encounter or what have you.
Hmm.
To say, hey, let's exchange preferences or fantasies or whatever it is about like, hey, this may surprise you, but this turns me on. I think sometimes that can be a really um
Mm.
you can share not just information, but that can also lead to like, oh yeah, that sounds like fun, let's try that kind of thing. And so just being able to be honest, but it's hard to be honest with somebody if you don't feel safe with them, like, and but sharing that, what, this might surprise you, but I'm learning that, a lot of my girlfriends or whatever, they don't have this fantasy or this desire in this way, or this doesn't turn them on, but it does me. And learning something new and surprising about a partner, like, that reminds you of the first few months or years that you knew each other, right? You're still learning, and that creates excitement. And so I think, you've gotta have the safety first, and then the honesty. And the honesty and safety to be able to say, "Hey, I'd like us to try this," and if your partner's like, yeah, that's not really my vibe," then, that's the end of the conversation, at least at that point. Um, being feeling like you have to give in to a partner's, preferences or
Mhm.
desires, that yanks away whatever safety was there. I've been there, I've done that.
Mm.
It destroys the relationship. And so being able to be honest, but be ready if your partner's like, "Yeah, that's I don't really feel in the mood for that right now," or "I'm not that's not really my thing," then that needs to be the end. It shouldn't be more coercion, more arguing, or,
Yeah.
the crap about, "Well, if you were a good wife or if you were a good husband, you would do this for me." Like, no.
Yeah.
That's coercion at the highest degree, and, you're
Totally.
just
I think there has to be this sweet spot that you're talking about. Um, yeah, like sorry for interrupting though. Yeah, but
Go
I think it's more about it's not about that you complete me or I complete you. It's more about
Mhm,
how you complement me. So I think that's a
mhm,
big difference
mhm.
right there. So, one is romance, the other is a hostage situation.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, yes, I think you're right about the hostage situation. I like that. I think that's a good analogy.
Yeah, and when people finally get that, I think that their partner isn't just responsible for regulating them or
Mhm,
filling in the
mhm.
gaps, I would say. Something really shifts. So, for Meredith, I just want to end here that for couples who actually want to have more intimacy without
Mhm.
turning it into pressure, what's one mindset shift that actually changes how they show up with each other day to day?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, let's see. One mindset shift. I think part of it is I tend to think about how I'm also an executive coach and I teach undergrads and grad students negotiation conflict resolution. And I think
Yeah.
and I'm also a work life researcher. And so how we show up in one area of our life is generally how we show up in other areas. And so
Yeah.
if you are, yeah. And so showing up for your partner, one, the way you would want them, at least in part, to show up for you, but thinking about, how do I want to show up for my partner today? And sometimes that's, especially in times of high stress, when I'm going through a lot of stress either with work or I have ailing and aging parents, or he's got something going on. Asking our partner very specifically, how can I show up for you in a better way today? And especially after you've had maybe, we call them kind of like a conflict or a breach or something like that, where we need to kind of repair the relationship. Maybe there was a miscommunication. We don't have a lot of big fights, but sometimes we'll have misunderstandings or kind of hurt feelings because, that happens. But asking our partner, how can I show up better for you today? One other piece, big piece of broader relationship satisfaction, which also, they broader relationship satisfaction and sexual satisfaction, they feed each other. But one other big piece of that is when our partner is responsive. And so when
Yeah.
partners are being responsive to each other in general, they make that bid for attention that the Gottmans talk about quite frequently. So making that specific ask, how can I show up better for you as a partner today? I mean, it helps your partner feel seen, heard, understood, cared for. And then you have an opportunity, hopefully, for them to say, like, I really need this today, or I've got this really, you know, um, tough meeting coming up, or I got some bad news at work, or with one of my kids or something. You're giving,
Mm.
I see it as you're giving each of you a gift, an opportunity to show up in the way that they need. And when we feel like our partner cares about what we need and we're appreciated by them and they're responsive to us, like that just greases the wheels for more of that. Like as soon as they reach over to touch, like, yeah, like I said with my partner, he can just kind of wrap a hand around the back of my arm and I'm like, okay, let's go. And so, I think a lot of people don't have that. And it's something I don't take for granted, but it is. It's,
Yeah.
we don't like to hear it, but it's all the things that happen before you get to the bedroom, or as I call it, also the kitchen counter. So it's
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I think avoiding, yeah, like you said, right? I mean, showing up at a particular place often is related to how you show up in other areas in your life as well. And I think the biggest thing that relates with the different areas of life is how you usually communicate with people around you and the kind of energy also that you bring into the room, right? And
Mhm.
so talking about communication, like I think avoiding the conversation, right, doesn't actually keep the peace. I think it just delays the explosion. So,
Yes.
when it finally happened, it's usually louder and messier than it ever needed to be. So,
Yes.
um, yeah, Meredith, thank you for this conversation. And honestly, I think my biggest takeaway from this conversation would be about the dynamics that we spoke about.
Mhm.
And I think it's more about making people feel safe in their bodies, in the dynamic, in the conversation, because I think desire softens back into curiosity, and then boundaries stop feeling like rejection at that point.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, and if you have that safety and you can be who you are. I mean, that's one thing that I don't take for granted and looked for is I wanted somebody, a new partner who I could show up exactly as I am, like bring my full self to the
Yeah.
party and so if you can
Yeah.
do that, yeah, it has a spillover effect to where the intimacy
Yeah,
occurs.
because that's where, intimacy and care coexist, I think. So thank you for that, Dr. Magnit. And just before we wrap off, would love to ask for those of us listening to this right now and would want to connect with you. Perhaps where can they find you at?
You can find me personally on LinkedIn, and you can also find me at my company it's called PartnerLab.com, and our website is mypartnerlab.co. So lots of tools and resources there grounded in research to help people enhance their relationship, and especially for those who may be feeling kind of stuck in their relationship and are looking for help to figure out
Mhm.
next steps. So thank you for asking.
Perfect, Dr. Meredith. Thank you so much for sharing that. And the listeners, I'll have this the show notes by you so you can check them out at your own convenience. And with that, we hit today's minute mark on this episode. And all right, guys, here's what I want you to take from today. I call it the mini challenge for the next 24 hours. Super simple. I want you to ask your partner one question. Um, and it could be what helps you feel most wanted. And then ask the following question: what helps you feel most safe? And your job during this is actually only to listen, no defense,
Mm.
just curiosity. And yeah, also, if you're single but you're stuck through, this end of this episode, don't worry, do it yourself, do it with yourself, because I think journaling it, your own future relationship will thank you. Knowing how your own operating system works. And if this episode hit for you, I want you to share it with someone who's trying to love better. And if you want more tools like this, Stay connected with Dr. Merideth Thompson and her work at PartnerLab. I'm Sayan. This has been Pleasure Principles, where desires meet discovery. Catch you in the next episode.